Hi there, good afternoon. Today we will go through the poem The Cold Within, written by James Patrick Kinney. It's a very simple poem and one of the 5 poems that you have for your ICSE curriculum in class 9. The title, as it suggests, The Cold Within, it is an allegorical poem because it contains a hidden message. Whenever a poem contains a hidden message, we will term it as an allegorical poem. What is the message here? The message is very simple, that we should be tolerant towards everyone, if not love. We cannot love everyone, fine, but at least we should be tolerant towards everyone, and we should not use those parameters of discriminations. You know, there are various parameters of discrimination, be it any. We should not discriminate when we are in a situation where we should help others. So this is a very simple message. The cold within. What happens here is 6 people happen to have came together for some reason, and they were required to survive through a very bitter, chilly night. All of them possessed a stick of wood. A stick of wood will actually be acting as a fuel to keep the fire burning. What they had to do is they had to sacrifice their piece of wood individually so that the fire can keep on burning, which they could not do. Why they could not do? Because they were governed by the notions of discriminations. Eventually what happened? They could not survive, they died. And they died not because, as the poet says, not because of the chilly weather outside, not because of the cold outside, but because of the cold within. Means the lack of warmth, the lack of compassion, the lack of empathy in their heart. That was the primary cause of their death. Let's start. The cold within. 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. So the very first line, 6 humans means 6 characters basically, trapped. The usage of the word trap sets the tone of the poem. They are trapped means they are, in later on we will see how they are trapped by the notions, their prejudice of discriminations, which will bring their downfall. Now 6 humans trapped by happenstance. Happenstance here has been personified as if happenstance has trapped them. Happenstance means coincidence. Where they were trapped in bleak and bitter cold. First of all, bleak and bitter is alliteration, and bleak means what? Bleak means desolate. Bleak means bleak and bitter cold. It means bare and bitter. Bitter means harsh weather condition. And these 2 words also will symbolize the harshness or the bleak and the bitterness within their soul. As I said, they devoid the warmth of compassion and empathy. Each one possessed a stick of wood. Now, stick of wood is no doubt it's a means of survival. A wood will fuel the fire. And the wood is also representative of the sins which they are having. Sins means the moral sins, okay, the vices which they have. What are the vices? One by one we will come across. And so each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. Their dying father, next stanza, the dying fire in need of logs, the first man held his back, for the faces round the fire he noticed one was black. So first of all, their dying fire is personified, and the first man did not let go his piece of wood. Why? Because he found that one of the members out of the other 5, he was black. He was not a Caucasian, he was black skinned. So this person was governed by what? This person was governed by racial prejudice. So his log, his piece of wood, represented his sin. What is his sin? His sin was he was harboring racial prejudice. Okay, he was xenophobic in nature. And for the faces round the fire, for faces and fire is also alliteration. So this man, he suffered from bigotry, and therefore he could not let go his piece of wood. All these 6 persons will have 6 different reasons. They will have their reasons of their own why they did not let go of their piece of wood, or in other words, why they could not let go of their sins. So the first sin that we come across is racial prejudice, racial discrimination or racial prejudice. Then stanza 2. See, this poem was written around 1960s, where and James Patrick Kinney is an American writer. So at that time, racial discrimination was at its height in America. Racial discrimination means apartheid. Apartheid, when we speak about apartheid, it's not only the African countries, it's also the first world countries too, where the black skinned people were very much looked down upon by the white. They were not given equal rights. Anyway, next stanza. The next man looking across the way saw one not of his church, and couldn't bring himself to give the fire his stick of birch. Birch is a kind of tree, and the wood of a birch tree is good for burning fuel, good for burning the fire, and he could not let go his piece. Why? Because his sin was he was dominated by the sense of religious intolerance. Why didn't he part with his piece of log? Because amongst the crowd, amongst the group, he saw that one of them did not belong from his church, did not share the same religious belief, the same religious faith that he shares. So the second sin, I would say, is religious intolerance. Now this is not only church is a metonymy. The word church is a metonymy because it represents the word church represents an entire religion. Now it's not only religious intolerance that we are speaking about, it's also general intolerance as well. See, it's not that contrary to the general perception that we have that Muslims hate Christians, Christians hate Muslims. It's not like that. If you see Russia and Ukraine are in a war, the soldiers who are dying are predominantly Muslims from both Christians from both sides. If you take into consideration the war that is going on between Yemen and Saudis, both of them are Christians, and they both are dying from both the sides. So it's not only religious intolerance. People might have different belief, people may be atheist, people may have a different perception, but one should value and respect each other's perception and thoughts. So second point, I would say intolerance, be it religious intolerance, be it general intolerance. Okay, so the second person, he was struggling with his own prejudice, he could not let go of his wood. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Now the third person here, he sat in tattered clothes. Tattered clothes means shabby, shoddy clothes which are torn, which symbolizes that this person is a poor person. Now the third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. He gave his coat a hitch means he wore his coat firmly. That's an expression of sternness. Okay, he was not ready to part with his log. Why? Because he did not want the idle rich to get benefited. It's true that poor have always been under oppression from the rich. It's true. And the rich always gets richer, the poorer, they seldom become rich. Yes, there are examples where you will find motivational quotes and motivational instances where you will find poor people, they are climbing up the stairs, fighting with the situations, and slowly they have also become rich. But those can't be considered as examples. Those are exceptions. So this social injustice is what is that we find in the third stanza. Class distinction, the distinction between the haves and the have-nots. So the third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Yes, notwithstanding the fact that the rich has always oppressed the poor in times of common challenges. This is a dire situation which they are facing. They have to survive through the chilly night, the cold night. Now this means it's a common problem, it's a common challenge, it's a dire situation. During these times, the poet is telling that the poor must also not consider what are the atrocities that had been done on him, and he should not feel envious. He should not harbor the sense of bitterness in his heart. So the third person could not let go of his part of wood, his piece of wood, because he was full of envy. He was full of envy and bitterness. As per him, the rich people are idle. So the third sin is envy and bitterness. Now we'll see what the rich thinks of the poor. Continuing, the rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now we saw how the poor considered the rich as idle. Now what the rich is considering the poor as shiftless. Shiftless means unworthy, undeserving. As per the rich people, the poor don't deserve only. They are lazy. They are lazy. So you will often find rich people often commenting that poor will always remain poor because they do not want to work hard. But it's not that. See, I'll give you an example. A rich man will often comment that an equal opportunity is being given to everyone. Right? Okay. Continuing. Now we'll see what the rich man's perception is towards the poor. Now the poor considered the rich man as an idle rich. The rich man, let's see, the rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. So the rich man with a well-fed stomach, he sits back, he relaxes, and then he thinks. What does he think of? He thinks how to protect, how to shield, how to keep his wealth fortified. And how did he gain so much of wealth? How could he accumulate so much of wealth? Who helped him to gain? Who helped him to acquire so much of wealth? From the lazy, shiftless poor. So as per him, poor people are lazy. You know, rich people, they sometimes comment that poor people, they are lazy, they do not want to work hard. That is the same reason why they stay poor. But it's not like that. It's not like that. See, I'll give you an example. They say that equal opportunity is being provided to everyone. The case, it's not that, not like that. See, you and your friend, you belong from a rich family, your friend belong from a poor family. Both of you have fulfilled your school fees. So the school has given you an equal platform. What is that platform? To give an exam. But that is just a part of equality. When you are well fed, you reach your exam in a private car with a well fed stomach. Your friend reaches the examination hall 15 minutes late because he has to get into a public transport, and also with hunger in his stomach. Now your brain and your friend's brain will not work in a similar fashion. I am not taking any credit away from all those people who have worked hard and have climbed and have fought against the situations and have become rich. But those, as I said, those should be considered as exceptions and not examples, because most of the time equality means not only equal opportunities but also equal resources. So equal resources, distribution of resources should also be made in equal proportion in order to cut down the inequality. Anyway, the rich man just sat back and thought of the wealth he has in store. So he is trying to, what is the thought? His thought is how to fortify his wealth, how to keep his wealth shielded, and how to keep, and he acknowledges that how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. The poor people whom he terms as lazy, the same very lazy people had helped him to acquire the wealth which he is now thinking of protecting. So here this person is a miser, he is a hoarder. What is the sin that he is having? His sin is that of misery, not misery, greedy. He is very greedy. His sin is that of avarice. His sin is that of greed. He had made money using the labor of the poor. Now the time has come when he has to give back something. He is not ready to part with his piece of log. Next, the black man. You remember the white man? What notion did the white man had? He did not help because he found a black man. Now let's find what the black man has to say. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his side. For all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. So it's very simple. The black man, when his turn came, he was ready for it. He was not going to let go of his piece of log, because the very first line it says the black man's face bespoke. Bespoke means his facial expression reflected, indicated of what? Of revenge. So the fifth sin, the fifth piece of log indicated revenge. He took this opportunity to spite the white. Spite means what? The spite means the desire to hurt someone. So for all he saw in his stick of wood was a chance to spite the white. This is also a kind of racism. See, racism not only means that always the white will oppress the black. There are countries in the modern world, like in South Africa, things have turned around. In South Africa, Zimbabwe, in those countries, white now constitutes the minorities, and the black people they oppresses them. The white people are stripped of their land and their rights. So whatever the white people did to the poor, to the black are doing the same thing. So discrimination on the basis of skin color, apartheid as we say, is still persisting. So the last man of this forlorn group, did not, except for gain. Not means nothing. Not is an archaic word. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. So the last man of this forlorn group. Forlorn means what? Forlorn means desolate, isolation. The forlorn group is an example of oxymoron. Oxymoron is when two opposite meaning words which are juxtaposed together, they are called oxymoron. If I say awfully good, awfully means negative and good means positive. Awfully good is an example of oxymoron. Similarly, forlorn means loneliness, forlorn means desolation. Why this group is desolate? Because no one is ready to help each other. They are isolated from each other. And group means group means more than one. So the last man of this desolate, of this miserable group, did nothing except for gain. So this person, he has nothing to do with discrimination. He has nothing to do with who is rich, who is poor. He has only one thing in mind. He will only help that person who can help him back, from whom he can extract some helpfulness. So here he demonstrates the theme of selfishness. He is very self-centered, self-conceited. Okay, so this is how he played the game. All throughout his life, this is his habit. He has only helped them from whom he can take back some help. So he is highly motivated by self-interest. He is very egotistical. He lacks generosity, because when you help others, you should be generous enough not to expect something back when in times of need. That is how you should help, which we do not do, obviously. So this person lacked generosity. And what is the sin that he is holding? The piece of wood, that is, you will say, his piece of wood would be that of selfishness. So he is selfish. All 6 of them had these sins within them. Okay, mortal sins. So what happened? The last stanza, I am not writing it. The logs held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So their logs held tight in their hands, in death's still hands. Here also death is being personified. By the way, the last line of the last stanza was how he played the game. It's a game of life, and that game is again a metaphor. Now their logs held tight in death's still hand was a proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So as I said, they did not die because it was cold outside, they died because it was cold within their heart. They lacked empathy, they lacked compassion. Okay, they lacked the willingness to help each other in times of need. Now these 2 lines, they didn't die from the cold without, they did die from the cold within, is an example of antithesis. Antithesis is two opposite meaning words which are inserted into a sentence in quick succession. Like if I say keep your enemies close, keep your friends close, your enemies closer, so enemies, friends, two opposite words. If I say keep your mouth shut, your eyes open, so shut, open, that becomes an antithesis. Similarly here, they did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. So you can see, we are human beings. In order to show that we are the superior race, we are the superior species in the world, we must display these things, because these are not found in animals. They are found, but not like us. We have the power to make judgment, and if our judgment is based on prejudices, then we are not human beings at all. Then as per the poet, we deserve to die, just like the six humans, they deserve to die. That's it.